Шановні колеги, ми продовжуємо роботу. До слова запрошується речник Міністерства.
Now the floor is given to Ministry of Defense on ETO-related issues, spokesman Andriy Lysenko. So now the information about the events that happened in the ATO area during the last 24 hours and about training of Ukrainian armed forces. The Lugansk sector. Military actions are on the front line. The main flash spots are Krymska, Novoalexandrivka and Troitska, where the occupants used mortars. And they launched about 40 mines at our positions. Also, there were 3 sniper firing delivered by the enemy, 1 in Novaidarsk and 2 in Popasnyansky region. Ukrainian servicemen returned fire. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Lugansk area, there were 24 enemy shellings, including 6 with the use of mortars. The Donetsk sector. There, the situation remains tense. And along the front line, the militants use heavy weapons. These are mortars, cannons, and tanks. In Svitlodarsk Bulge, the enemy was active during second part of the day. After a series of mortar shelling of several positions of Ukrainian forces, the enemy used barrel artillery. The fire was delivered with interruptions during 6 hours. In Lugansk, 1 civilian woman was wounded. Near Gorlovka, the main military actions were in Zaitsevo. Here, the occupants used small arms during the day and heavy weapons was used during dark hours. On the whole, they delivered 10 shellings. The situation is tense in Avdiivka. Yesterday, the militants launched about 10 mines and tank shells. The occupants didn't start fire during the day and at night, and in the result of aggressive actions of the enemy, the town is without electricity and there are breaks in mobile communication. In Piski and Opatna, there was a number of mortar shelling delivered by the enemy. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Donetsk area, there were 41 enemy provocation recorded, including 20 with the use of heavy weapons. The Mariupol sector in Mariinsky region, yesterday the morning started with enemy tank shelling to the direction of regional center, and during second part of the day the occupants used mortars. To the south, in Berezove, that is near Dokuchaevsk, in the evening the militants organized 2 heavy shelling with the use of mortars and armored vehicles. And in neighboring positions in Novotroitsk at the same time, there was firing between Ukrainian forces and the enemy. And this lasted longer for about 3 hours. As previously, the situation is tense in the south of Oblast, and in Chermalik, Shirokina part of front line, there were heavy mortar shellings. The enemy launched no less than 130 mines of different caliber, and Ukrainian forces returned fire. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Mariupol sector, there was 41 enemy shelling, including 14 with the use of heavy weapons. During the last 24 hours, in the result of the military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed, but 7 servicemen were wounded. Law enforcers in Limansk detained former militant. They identified that in spring 2014 he served at enemy checkpoint, and according to him, he was doing this for money. And recently, SBU officers found 2 caches of ammunition in Oblast's neighboring ATO. And the first was in the damaged house in one of Bilmetsk villages of Zaporizhsky Oblast, and there the law enforcers confiscated 2 RPG-26 grenade, 2 F1 grenade, TNT blocks and cartridges of 5.45 millimeters. The second cache SBU officers together with police found in Sinelnikovo town of Dnipropetrovsk region. In the forest line, the law enforcers seized 2 anti-tank grenade RPG-22, 2 grenades RPG-5, and also cartridges to AK-74. 1,000 cartridges and 700 grams of artillery gunpowder. In Mariupol, in express delivery office, the police officers confiscated ammunition from a man. 26-year-old resident of Chernigivshina was trying to send 3 grenades, 1.5 kilograms of gunpowder to Mykolaiv. All this he was hiding among his personal belongings. And last week, the servicemen of 90th Detached Aeromobile paratroopers had some technical training in 3 oblasts of Ukraine. First episode was in Zhytomyr. They were carrying out their training supported by artillery and rehearsed some crossing of water obstacles. Also, they used Trilat and the Igla complex in their training, and the final stage was in Dnipropetrovshina that the servicemen rehearsed their actions, blocking the enemy and repelling the attack of the enemy from different directions. Also these days, the servicemen of mechanized detached 92nd Detached Motorized Brigade of Armed Forces repelled the advance of imaginary enemy. They also involved 2 mechanized and tank detachments, and also they were trained in mortar firing and anti-tank complex use, and they succeeded in their training. They repelled successfully the enemy of attack and delivered counter-offensive. Thank you, Colonel. Do you have questions? No questions. Thank you.
Шановні колеги, наступне
Dear colleagues, our next event is at 1 p.m.